Oh boy. Mandingo is a 70s movie about slavery that came out before Roots became an event. It was reviewed by Roger Ebert with disgust, which is how most critics saw it. He claimed there were children in the theater, and what kind of parent would blah blah blah. He went on about what a horrible movie it was for depicting the degradation of blacks, but what the hell did he think slavery was about? Yeah, I know he married a black chick, so what? Mandingo was a B-movie done by a major studio using big talents. It was written by Norman Wexler, who wrote Joe, Serpico, and later Saturday Night Fever. He was as liberal as you could get, and he skipped a lot of the novel's sordid, hysterical stuff. Like the ending. It was directed by Richard Fleischer. Not an A-list director, but he was competent at least. Among the cast were James Mason and our friend Susan George, who was on a hot streak in the 70s. The score was by multi-Oscar winner Maurice Jarre, with an original song sung by, holy shit, Muddy Waters. It was shot by Richard Klein, who shot King Kong and Star Trek the Motion Picture. So this wasn't some Roger Corman flick. Then again, it was produced by Dino De Laurentiis, who made movies the way some Hollywood people snorted lines, too often, and usually to disastrous effect. Mandingo was promoted as some kind of interracial Gone with the Wind, but that's not what the movie was. It opens with a harrowing 10 minutes that skips through the daily life of an antebellum slave, treated like property. James Mason plays a vile old SOB who sleeps with a slave curled around his feet because a doctor told him that his rheumatism will pass from his body into the slave's. How effed up is that? Our hero is Perry King, who has a sexual affair with a slave played by Brenda Sykes. She's the most likable character, even if her falling in love with her owner is like something from a tasteless romance novel. But they have to use this as a contrast to Ken Norton as Meade, a prize slave who ends up blackmailed into making the two-back beast with our pal Susan George. Boxer Ken Norton does a good enough job, while George spends a lot of time being sexually frustrated. There's no love between her and Meade, just the sex. Mandingo was considered offensive, of course, but today that seems like typical 70s reflexive liberalism. That the subject matter is brought up is what seems to offend these who ignore that the slave life was shown to be nothing but cruel and awful outside of the sex. If you can look past the silly King-Sykes love story, this is a bonkers movie that can get you as only not respectable movies can manage. I don't want to see a 12 movie about how rotten Whitey is, but damned if this doesn't deliver that message without any preachiness at all. So many folks these days expect and demand that someone in the world of the movie is actually speaking the movie maker's beliefs. Taxi Driver got crap in the day because no one in the screen said, shooting people is wrong. Inserting such naked lecturing would have destroyed the reality of that movie's world. It's the same here. No one in this world would lecture someone else on their hideous behavior towards other people. I'm not saying Dino De Laurentiis and Richard Fleischer were being high-minded about this. They just didn't care about it as they told their story. A story with few predecessors in movies. Had they sold it as a sultry sex movie doesn't excuse it. But the results stand for themselves. The interiors are moody, you can feel the heat, and you can see the young slaves fanning the whites as they eat. The exterior photography doesn't make the Old South feel inviting. Susan George plays a horny character again, and she's good at it. Her 70s movie career deserves to be remembered for her playing a 70s woman who liked the sex. Perry King is okay, and Ken Norton gets by on physical presence. He was still a competitive boxer when he made this. But Brenda Sykes leaves the biggest impression in a ridiculous part. Give Mandingo a look if you're in the mood for a movie that still makes some people uncomfortable. If you leave a like and a comment, I'd really appreciate it. Thanks for stopping by. Drop by again soon.